Hello there. Come join Grandma Lois. Cynthia always says, "My name is Cynthia." Well, my name is Grandma Lois. And I'm in a blue day today, but I am not blue. This is a happy Monday. You know, they talk about a blue Monday because you got to go back to work. Well, that's true. I might take off tomorrow. I don't know. You know, anymore, I just play it by ear. But today is a good day. The sun is not shining, but I'm just in a good mood today. And I look, they changed the coffee cups. Now, is that cute? It says Happy Grinch Day. I never did care for Grinch. I thought he was ugly, but he's here on my coffee cup, I think. Let me see. I'll pull off the thing that says Seven Creams. Well, no, that's a pretty little blonde girl. See the pretty little blonde girl? Well, where's the Grinch? I don't see. Well, anyway, we're going to enjoy this. My coffee is warm still. James has went to work, and I went. You know what I'm doing today? Well, anyhow, I'm going to tell you what today is. Today is the 8th, I think, of December. Yes, it is 2025. And tomorrow I go get my one eye measured. This one, this right eye, I can see you as sharp as anything. I see y'all sitting there. You're, are y'all hiding in them snow bushes somewhere like my friend Pamela? She gets someplace and hides, and you can't find her, but she's there somewhere. I tell you what, we play games, me and Pamela. She lives in Florida where she don't get any snow, but I'm enjoying the snow as long as it don't get ice. But they might have ice tomorrow. But what I'm doing today is I've already put on a ham bone and a pot of soup beans in the Ninja Foodie. And when you put it in the pressure cooker, that's a pressure cooker. I put some onion, I put some flavoring, and of course, the ham bone does a lot of good. And I cook northern beans. So I'm making a pot of northern beans, Great Northern. And I like them as well as pintos. I just like beans. I'm a bean person. Beans are good for you. They're very healthy. And if you make you some cornbread, and I do not make cornbread in the air fryer like Kentucky Life with Debbie Sue does. She just makes a little dab in her air fryer, but I'll make an iron skillet. But you know what? She don't like sweet cornbread, but I do. So I'll use Jiffy Mix and make me. I've got the right size iron skillet to make me some cornbread. So we'll have soup, beans, and cornbread. And tomorrow I go get my eye measured, and we'll be busy, so I can just have another pot ready. Okay, I have a really good verse today. You know, sometimes God really gives us a good one. And this is it. Ephesians. You know, these are reading glasses, really, but I can see it. And it says there, 4:32. It says to be kind and compassionate to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving each other, just as Christ, God, forgave you, urging believers to extend grace and kindness, forgiveness to others, and a reflection of the forgiveness that they have received from God. And then Romans 12:21 says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Do it. That's the best thing to do. I have so many good verses that this phone brings up for me. And you can just read the Bible right on your phone. And I just enjoy it because if you're out traveling or something, commit to the Lord, whatever you do, and He will establish your path. You know, I'm always saying, walk that path that would be pleasing to the Lord. Well, they talk about paths, I don't know how many times in the Bible. You know, walk the right path. And that is Proverbs 16:3. You can look it up. So I got here and I carry stuff around from James's house to my house. So I found this blue blue flower that Darlene gave me, that sweet girl that bought me a bushel basket full of hats, bows, and all kinds of stuff 2 years ago. And I still got them. But she gave me this one, and it was exceptional. This scarf might have been there too. I don't know. She gave me, it was overwhelming. I said, Darlene, don't do that again, please. I like to shop myself. So anyhow, when I pulled this up on the internet on YouTube and saw all that pretty blue, I said, we're going blue today, and we're not blue. You know, you talk about Blue Mondays, but we're not blue. We're just happy as a log. We're just as happy as a bug in a rug, whatever. So anyway, I was thinking this morning about my eye. You know, that kind of takes up a lot of my thought, and I have got so many good comments from people and advice, and I appreciate it all because most of them confirmed what I was thinking. But you know, I told how the Lord woke me up 3 o'clock in the morning. So I called over there this morning to the place where I'm getting that done. They said, fine, we'll just do the one eye. The other one don't need to come out anyway. So, you know, you'll be wearing glasses. I've said I've worn glasses since I was in my 40s. When it starts when you lose, you know, you have to get things way back to see it better. You get farsighted. So they'll take that cataract off and I'll walk out of there. I will not have any problem whatsoever. And I'm happy about it because this other side is blurry. Okay, now where was I? Oh, yeah, cooking my soup beans. Now, I'm cooking enough that, you know, some people say, you know, well, in fact, is I had a sister in law that was married to a man that he would not allow her to save the soup beans from the day before. She had to cook them fresh every day on the stove. That's how she, well, then that's been 40 years ago or more, maybe longer. And one of Buddy's brothers, he could tell if they had been cooked yesterday, and he wouldn't do it. So she couldn't trick him or nothing. She just had to put them on fresh every day, and she did. She made her man happy, and James, thank goodness, loves soup beans. I was so glad when I found out that number three husband likes a lot of the same foods I do. Don't you like Tom's glasses? Tom sent me these. And when I wear these, I think of Granny Pat, you know, chit chat with Granny Pat. She's a glass expert and she has a lot of pretty ones. I have, James bought me a box full one day at a yard sale for $2. All kinds. I mean, some of them were hearts. Here's one that was in there. Let me show you. See, I show you everything. I'm very transparent. This don't go with what I'm wearing this morning. But he said, honey, that's patriotic. You know, I think there's blue somewhere. Yeah, there's blue right here. Red, white, and blue. Good old USA. And it's real cute too. So I wear this one this morning. I can see through it. It's a sunglass. But I had noticed at everything at Dollar Tree, which is now up to $5, you can buy these for about $1.25 a piece. They have all kinds. So one day I bought me 3 or 4. I've got glasses everywhere. I just don't always wear them, but sometimes they're fun. And let's have fun. I like to have fun. I like to enjoy life. And I'm treating my feet. I've got them in treatment. Well, and anyhow, I cut all the good ham off my ham that I had bought, you know, a spiral ham, and I put the ham hock in with the beans, and then I'm baking the rest of it, and it'll be real good later for breakfast, whatever. It's sliced already, but it needed to, because that's just the way they come, and they're already cooked, but they're better if you put some seasoning on them, like a little brown sugar and stuff, and bake them for about a half an hour or so, or maybe a little longer, on a low heat. I tell you what, I have about run out of things to talk about. Now, what in the world am I going to talk about next? I was thinking yesterday about how when I moved to California, you know, my husband, number one, decided to go in the Navy. So I'll just go ahead and tell you a little bit more about that. He went in the Navy and he didn't want to stay. So we went AWOL 2 times. Him and another fellow, they were in San Diego, California. Can you believe that? And they hitchhiked all the way back to Indiana 2 different times because they sent him back. Well, he turned himself in the last time. And when he turned himself, 3 times he did that. 2 times from California, another time from a closer place. He was on the train getting to go, and he got off the train, came home. 3rd time. It, I wanted to divorce him because I told Daddy, I says, you know, I don't want a husband like that can't keep his word and stay in the Navy. And my daddy said to me, you made your bed, now lay in it. You made that choice. Now hang in there. And so the third time, he turned himself in the third time, and they sent him to Great Lakes. Well, Great Lakes, they tested him and tested him, and they gave him psychological test and ink blot test. He says, that was the craziest thing I ever said. He said, they were just like ink blots. And they said, what does that look like? And he said, I don't know. They said, just tell me what comes to your mind. Have y'all ever heard tell of those kind of tests? Ink blot test. So he'd tell them. And you know what they said? You're going to be good in the Navy. We're keeping you. And they kept him. And so he got 6 months in the brig. Well, my brothers know this, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So me and a girlfriend, well, I was tired of living with mommy and daddy. So I went to town and I got me a job at a place called the Bobolink. And I met a girl there by the name of Wanda. She was part Indian, but very sweet. So we got us a little apartment together. And we both was straight. Back then, everybody knew that you wasn't homosexual. Nobody had talked about two girls in an apartment together, maybe being homosexual. Didn't enter our mind because she had a boyfriend and I was married. We worked second shift at the Bobolink, and I learned to cook fast, like on a grill and deep fryer. I had a deep fryer. I could fry chicken no time flat, and I could make you a T-bone steak. I could make you a salad so fast it'd make your head spin. And when they come in and says, I want a salad, you know what we did? We just chop off a piece of salad. We just take a head of lettuce, cut off a piece of that head of lettuce, and say, what kind of dressing do you want? And then they'd chop up their own lettuce right in that little bowl it was in. And that was their salad. Easy peasy, right? Maybe I should do that for James. What do you think? All I have to do is buy a head of lettuce and say, and keep, now he really likes the mustard and he likes blue cheese too. And I keep that on hand. So he could make his choice, or French, or whatever. And just pour you a little, and you got a salad. There you go. We didn't put carrots or anything else in it, just chop you off a piece. Fact is, after I married James, we went out to these dinners. I changed just whatever pops in my mind. And this popped in my mind. They have these meetings once a month where the guys that buy and sell houses that James and I went to, and we got acquainted to a lot of them people that millionaires, that own oodles of houses. Once upon a time, James told me that him and Margie, his first wife, they owned 100 houses. He said, I'm not telling you how many was mortgaged. They mortgage them and buy them. They borrow money on one house and buy another one, and then rent it, and then they're making payments on it. He said, I never did see why people, uh, you know, wouldn't buy a house and live in an apartment, because the house will pay for itself. You can fix it up and rent it out, and then you own it, and then you can sell it. Then I flipped one house one time myself. He taught me how, and I did it, and I made about $30,000 on that house that I flipped. God is good. He always went before me and make the crooked places straight. But so Buddy was in the brig in Great Lakes, which is up other side of Chicago. So one day, when I got this letter from a chaplain where he was in the brig in jail, it said, I'll paraphrase it. He says, since you're running around on your husband and being untrue to him, then you really need to shape up and fly right. And I said, I'm not doing any, just because I was going to square dances, his brother saw me out square dancing with my girlfriends. And when you square dance, you're not got a partner all squeezed up to you or anything. You're in a circle, dancing around like a bunch of idiots. It was fun. It was fun. And we did it. We'd go to square dancing out to Pine Ridge. They'd have a band and a guy that called, change your partner, do-si-do. And I barely remember it, but do-si-do, I remember that. So we would change our partners and we would square dance. And then I had my little apartment with Wanda. But I told Wanda one day, I said, Wanda, and it was New Year's Eve. I had my suitcase packed, and I had told her, of course, I said, I'm catching the bus tomorrow for Great Lakes. I'm going to Great Lakes. Here I am, 19 years old. So I packed my little suitcase, cardboard, and I put a couple of dresses, my little shoes about this high, my little hat that had a veil down the front, because in 1952 or so, that was really in style, and I was as cute as a button. 19 years old, black hair, and I curled it every night. I had enough to pin curl and look nice the next day, and that's what I would do. I didn't get a permanent wave. I couldn't afford them. We used to give our own selves permanent waves. Remember that? But I just pin curl my hair every night before I went to bed and slept with it like that. I had my bobby pins and everything was no problem. It'd be curly the next morning. So let me tell you what, I got on that bus. I never told anybody except the boss, and he was a little rich kid. His daddy bought him that restaurant so he'd have something to do, and he didn't have lick sense. Seemed like he didn't know how. Oh, I was going to tell you when we went to those meetings out there where all the people that own houses, that restaurant was so nice. They had such good food and everything, and if you wanted a salad, they would get you about a third of a head of lettuce and bring it out and say what dressing do you want. So that was back when I first married James 15 years ago. They was serving up like a third of a head of lettuce or whatever, fourth a head of a lettuce, and you just took your knife and cut your lettuce up. I thought, well, that's still going on, like we did it down at the Bobolink. What do you know? I may put it into practice again. Who knows? With James, all I need is another head of lettuce. But the other day I bought lettuce already chopped up, so I'll have to wait and do that later because I got lettuce already chopped up. I just soon buy it chopped up. He gives me a pretty good budget for groceries. So I'm cooking them soup, beans, and cornbread today, and it's Jiffy Mix. Here I come. I was always one for doing things easy, but I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make me a big lasagna. I finally, well, I've got some of the stuff, but I haven't been to the store to get everything I need. But I haven't got the noodles yet. The wide noodles or whatever. But I got the mozzarella cheese, and I've got the Parmesan cheese. I've just got a few more things I got to get. It only takes about 5 or 6 things to make it. But I was telling James's secretary Karen that Parmesan is so good on it. But I said, do you buy ragu? Because my daughter uses ragu. She says, I don't use nothing like that. I make my own with tomatoes and this and that and the other. She's got her own recipe for her sauce. I bet that's good. I'll go get me some ragu. I don't have that yet either, but I'll get it one of these days. Anymore seems like I'm not in a real hurry to do anything. Now tomorrow I go get my eyes measured, as I said. Oh, and I found me that pretty Christmas tree. See, that's what happens. I was telling, and one of my friends, Dorothy, who talks about her past, and she finally she likes wigs too, but so she ordered her. She told me this, and maybe you read it, that she ordered her a wig, and it was too long and had too much hair, and you got to get one that's not very long. So yesterday or the day before, she said she ordered her a topper. Now that will be perfect probably for her. I hope it works. But she's all alone except for her kitty cat. And she's always telling me about what happens with her past. I like to hear some of your stories sometimes. And this RN sent me a long text this morning about either way you do it, laser or the other eye surgery, all of it is just easy. Just get her done. Kara, the secretary, had both of her eyes done. She had cataracts in both eyes that needed doing, and now she don't wear glasses, just like President Trump and all those other big people, because they've been doing lasering for a long time. It's not new. But I did some research, folks, that said anybody 92 years old that takes that medicine that make the anesthesia that makes you sleepy and you don't care what they do, sometimes they come out of it. And you can research it yourself. It don't happen very often, but a senior citizen can come out of it with dementia, disoriented, and not get themselves back for a long time. Well, I have enough trouble where it is, kiddos. So remembering stuff and think, I don't want to do that. But I decided that I didn't want to take a chance. And besides, my other eye is good. Think about it. Why take a cataract out that is not ready? It's not ready. It's seeing fine. I mean, my eye is seeing fine. Just fix the one that needs fixing. I remember what my mechanic told me one time, which taught me a good lesson. Well, see, I was alone quite a bit off and on between marriages, and I had this car, and I would trade cars back and forth. I just do whatever I wanted to do. I just enjoyed life, and with the help of the Lord. And so I got this car that was using oil. It used a quart of oil a month. I mean, you just had to keep putting oil in it. And so I told my mechanic, David Clemens, who I've known for years, I said, you know, this thing just uses oil like crazy, and I just hate it. Could you go ahead and overhaul this motor and so it'll be like new? He looked at me and he laughed. He said, I want to tell you something. He said, you can put a lot of oil in it with the money you would have to spend to overhaul that motor. He said, I suggest you just keep putting oil in it. That is not a problem. So I learned that sometimes you have use common sense. And he was a common sense mechanic, and I knew him for many years. He's passed away now. Don't I say that a lot about people I know? But his son, little David, took over. Now little David. David Jr. is about 60, and I've known him since he was 2 years old. And you know what? He just loved Buddy. My first husband, we had donut routes. We had bakery. We did so many things. I've had so many different things in my life. It's been fascinating. But we bought us a big walk-in truck, that you could walk in around. It had shelves on the sides and to deliver donuts and everything. And one day, David Sr. called us up. He said, because we lived in our big house then, same place, except I live in the rear now. And he said, I want you to come see this. So we went over, and there lay our big old truck on its side. It had fell off the rack. They were working on the tires, and this kid that was working on it somehow or other got it unbalanced, and there it lay. And of course, the transmission had to be replaced and everything. But David Sr. said he had insurance, and so we had to do other things for about 3 days till he got it fixed. But you just never know what's going to happen next in this life. But the Lord just goes before us and makes their crooked places straight. And I was looking for a little white or silver Christmas tree. I wanted a small one that I could just set. James had this nice little table I could set it on. He said, I got one right out in the garage. He has got everything out in the garage. It's amazing. So he brought it in. I set the little Christmas tree up. We found it at the wishing well for $6. Exactly what I wanted. See how the Lord goes before you and makes the crooked places straight? I didn't want one as little as that what thing. But I thought there was a Christmas tree in this one somewhere. I don't see it. Oh, it's way back there in the corner. See right back there? Right there. There's a Christmas tree. You can barely see it. This is a Christmas thing. And this one isn't supposed to get ads in the middle. And I hope it don't, but if it does, ignore it. Life goes on. Now, where was it? That little. So I went on Amazon and was looking to see if and they've got older ones. And they're pretty. And I wanted like a 2 foot high or 2.5 foot high. And don't you know, they run like $46. The cheaper ones, people would say these are not very good. I spent a lot of time shopping for a Christmas tree on Amazon. Nothing I wanted, and they can get it to you like in a day's time, and say 500 sold. And some people liked them, some said they don't fluff and all that kind of stuff. Well, the one I got is white, and of course it was already lit. It didn't have a star at the top. I'm going to find one at the wishing well, probably find some more decoration. I put another string of short lights on it, and it's just lovely. But the table that James brought out to put it on, this little table like thing, which has got a drawer and a door, well, I set it on it, and the cat knocked it off. Well, I set it back up. Cat got up and looked at it. knocked it off again. Well, he had a chair, an old-timey chair sitting beside that one that's got a woven bottom that he just loves that I think is ugly because we had woven bottom chairs because my father-in-law could weave chairs, cane chairs. He could do that, and he did that. Fact is, he did a rocking chair for his wife, my mother-in-law, and she gave that to me, and now Kim still has it. It's got a woven bottom that Papa did it himself, and I gave it to Kim. I used to rock Kim in it when she was little, but I'm tired of vintage, except for Christmas tree. I wanted one like years ago, and so I found the one I wanted. I decorated it. We set it on the table. Kept getting knocked over by James's cat. So I put it in the chair, kind of leaned it on the back, and the cat sits on the table and looks at it and don't bother it anymore. Don't try to crawl around, push it over or anything. And then last night I got a video. We had TV on. We was watching that guy travels with somebody I forget, and he goes all over Indiana and Kentucky and different states and shows you the interesting things in those states. That's how I travel now with him, and I forget his name. Somebody asked me his name, and I told them so that they could look him up on YouTube because he did castles the other day in Indiana and Kentucky, and I have seen them one castles. And then when he did New Albany, I know a lot of stuff. You could probably find it. Just look up who travels, and he's in from Indiana himself. So he does beautiful videos of the country. He's got really good cameras. He don't use an iPad like I do. I'm just using an iPad, and it works good for me. I hang my iPad over this little thing I got from Amazon. Put my TV in back of me and said, "How are we going to decorate today?" To the YouTube. Oh, I says, let's have a fire. And don't you like the decorations I've put up? Just call me Pamela because we live in a pretend world sometimes, don't we? And it's fun. When I was a little girl, I read every fairy tale book in the library. I just read them all. They were so interesting. And then I went through a phase that I read every science. Our library wasn't that big in New Albany. I read every science fiction book they had. And I remember on TV where they used to talk into their shoe. You know, the detectives could, there was a detective show on where he could talk in his shoe. And I read all that kind of stuff. And then I just went through phases. And you know what? I'm into westerns again now. And I've almost got it finished, and I can't hardly wait to get it done. I said, no, I got to quit this book and talk to the kids, the little chickadees out there, and the mommies and daddies, and the grandmas and grandpas. And some of y'all are alone, and you look forward to seeing me, and I'll visit with you, and don't shut up and talk about a whole lot of nothing. I do a whole lot of nothing, but today I am doing a whole lot of something, and I'm treating my feet as I talk to you, getting that done. I'm cooking in my Ninja Foodie. I am baking the rest of the ham so I can use it later and put it in the freezer. James got me a really nice freezer for his house because my big freezer went kaput about a year or two ago. So we put a big one over to his house, and I've got good food in it. Yummy, yummy. I've got some more beef liver that Kim gave me that is scrumptious. And of course, I go buy chicken livers out at Lee's Fried Chicken, and they're real good. And gizzards. I like gizzards too. And gizzards are kind of hard to cook, they're so tough, but they get them tenderized and deep fry them, and I eat grease. Some people just don't want no grease. I eat grease. I eat butter. I drink whole milk. Done that. Well, I couldn't used to afford butter, but when I got to where I could afford butter, which has been quite a long while ago, I started buying nothing but butter. I just love the taste of it on my toast and wherever. So I do that. I guess I've talked enough. I think I'm getting out of breath, but I don't know what I'll do tomorrow. But I didn't do any shorts today. I just didn't have any inspiration. It either is there or it's not. And I just go with the flow, as they always say. And I try to walk that path where Jesus would be pleased and hold my hand when we go through that little surgery because my daughter Karen said, Mom, I said, I'm 92 years old, Karen. She says, yes, but we forget you are because you just get around and do everything. We forget you're not. I said, well, I do too sometimes. I don't feel no 92 years old, but I know I am. And I do know I cannot do the things I used to do, and I'm slower. And I tell James, I said, be patient now. I'm being real careful. I don't want to fall anymore. And I don't want to fall because you can kill yourself falling, and I'm not done yet. I got more things I want to tell y'all, and I'll think of them later. I just enjoy life. God bless y'all. Walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. And I got to get done here because you know what today is? Monday. And guess what? Some of my girlfriends, um, like Cynthia and different ones in Kentucky Life with Debbie, she's probably already beaten me, got hers on already. And I can't wait to see her. She's just always fun. I just love her company, just to listen to her chatter. And she's such a sweet girl, and she loves the Lord, and so does Cynthia. There's a lot of good Christian people here on my YouTube world that I can watch. Even even some men that are pretty good, like Old Me, Living Better. He is really good, and he always gives. If you want to start a YouTube channel, look at him. He gives such good advice, and he says, "Be yourself, be who you are." Well, I got news for you. I can't be anybody else. I do dress up and put on the dog. Some. That's what we call it when you dress up. One time I had an ant run us off. Me and me and Phyllis, my sister, decided to go down in Virginia, which is about 200 miles away, maybe not that far, to visit some of the relatives. We dressed our little kids up, and I had a 49 Ford I was driving, and Phyllis went with me and her two little girls and my twins before Kim was born. And we dressed them up real cute, and we went down there, and Mom had a sister that was a little mental. It runs in the family some, but I don't have it yet. Not aiming to. But anyhow, uh, Mom had a bunch of sisters, and she had a younger sister that this one sister said that she's running around on her husband and he's in the service. And me and my sister said, I don't believe that. That ain't true. That is not a true story. She's not running. And she said, yes, she is. And if y'all don't get out of here, she went in her house and she came back with a shotgun. And she said, if y'all don't get out of here, I'm going to shoot you. Honey, you never seen anybody get gone so fast as we did. True story. Things do happen in Appalachia. So those that watch all the way through can. Aunt Vivian is gone. I went to her funeral. She was a sweet woman, but sometimes she went a little. Well, her husband got a job. He was a barber, and he only come home when he was on vacation, like 2 weeks a year or 3 weeks a year, but enough to get her pregnant. She had 3 children, and she lived alone. It was a tough life she was living. My heart went out to her, really. I mean, and she was raising them little girls by herself. And now they're up there, and one of them is already gone, and the other one I heard has dementia, and the one is doing okay, and she's getting a little forgetful. That can happen when you get up in your 80s and well, it can happen in your 60s. I had a friend by the name of Pauline. She was mine, Phyllis's friend, and she got Alzheimer's when she was in her 60s, and she didn't make it to 70. Her husband took care of her till she passed away. One day she called my sister up and she said, I'm going to come over and see you. Phyllis says, okay. So she could still drive, Pauline could. So she got in her car and she never did show up. So after a while, Phyllis got another phone call and it was from Pauline. Pauline says, you know, I went looking for where you lived and I can't find it. And that's what happened. And then her mind just went. Her Alzheimer's just took over and her husband took care of her till she passed away. There's a lot of true stories like that out there, that one or the other takes care of the one and don't have to put them in a nursing home. So whatever happens is in the Lord's hands. Pauline was a good woman. Her husband was a good man. But you know, the Bible says it rains on the just and the unjust. So it can happen to anybody, no matter how good you are. Bad things can happen. That's when you got to really hold the hand of the Lord Jesus. And when I went through my sick spell just recently, That's what I did, and it felt like I wasn't going to get well sometimes, but it just took time and patience, and here I am, 100%. I'll talk to y'all later. Walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you, no matter what happens. Love you. Bye bye.